Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and I need to rant about the historic failure that is this Phoenix Suns era. This franchise has come into the past 2 seasons now with lofty expectations after making the finals a few years ago, and both years, they've not even managed to come close to the way that people thought they were going to perform, and in the meantime, they put themselves in one of the single most bleak situations I've ever seen in the sport of basketball. Saying that their future is bleak is honestly generous. It is a nightmare. There is no hope whatsoever for the Phoenix Suns. They've hit rock bottom in every way possible. It's insane, the more that I think about it. So let's talk about where they're at the moment. They just fell to 35-42. They are confirmed to be under 500 on the season, and that comes after losing in dominant fashion to the Boston Celtics last night. No big surprise, no Kevin Durant. Shout out to Devin Booker, who dropped 37, 5, and 6, had a really good game. And shout out to Bradley Beal for somehow managing to score 1 point in 30 minutes on 0 of 7 shooting while racking up a team low -23. Yeah, it's kind of the way a lot of Suns games have gone this season, especially as of late, and this has all but eliminated them from the playoffs. That goes along with the 5-game losing streak they're on at the moment. To make the playoffs, they would need to catch up to the Sacramento Kings, who they do play last game of the season, and if they can beat them, they can take the tiebreaker, but they would also have to go ahead and win probably at least 3, if not 4, out of their last 5 games, including that Kings win. And their schedule is the Oklahoma City Thunder, the New York Knicks, the Golden State Warriors, the San Antonio Spurs, and that Kings team. Thunder, dominant, historically dominant. The Knicks, really good team, getting Jalen Brunson back pretty soon here. The Golden State Warriors, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, that is 12-0, I believe, with the starting lineup they've been using recently. Doesn't seem like they're going to win the amount of games that are necessary to go ahead and catch up to Sacramento. Again, evident by the 5-game losing streak they're on, with them getting obliterated on a nightly basis. And even if they do manage to go ahead and overtake the Kings, they'll then have to beat Dallas for the first play-in game, and then one of the Grizzlies, Clippers, Wolves, Warriors, Nuggets, or Lakers in the second play-in game. All teams that are vastly better than them. And that would set them up with a date against, again, the historically dominant Oklahoma City Thunder. So basically, they're screwed in every way. And that includes, Kevin Durant is injured at the moment, so he's not going to play in some of those games. So even if you think, hey, they can make something happen, he might not return this season. There is always a possibility of that. I can't even put into words how much of a disaster this year has been. And it's going to lead to Kevin Durant getting traded in the offseason. He almost got dealt at the deadline. If he was willing to go to Golden State, he would have been sent over there instead. He's going to get traded this offseason. They would probably trade Bradley Beal, and they would have hit the dedeadline if he didn't have a no-trade clause, which, yeah, great job trading for that one. Matt Ishbia in this Suns front office. Devin Booker might be next. The guy that has been with this franchise, who's been their franchise player for so long, has set records, is supposed to be a Phoenix Suns life, or at least it would be cool if he was. I don't think he's going to be, because even if he likes it in Phoenix, I don't think he's going to like it when he has no chance to win a playoff series for the next decade plus. Just one of the quickest descents I've ever seen, considering the hype that they had. Remember when they traded for Kevin Durant in the middle of the night? It was perhaps, in fact, it was the biggest trade deadline deal that we had ever seen. So they went ahead and made that, and that was coming off of them making it to the NBA Finals just a couple years prior to the season before that. They set the franchise record for wins, and they did ultimately lose to Luka Doncic and the Mavericks in Game 7. But now they're adding Kevin Durant, one of the best players in the world, alongside Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, and they're going to have an offseason to reshape the roster. They pushed the Nuggets to 6 games despite an incredibly flawed team that they had. So everything felt like it was kind of coming up Phoenix Suns. And then since then, they've made basically every single wrong move possible. And of course, it starts off with the Bradley Beal trade, which I don't know if any of you have looked at the Bradley Beal trade recently. Obviously, it's bad. We can see the results that it's bad, and a lot of people in the moment thought it was bad. I didn't love the fit. It made no sense in my opinion. I think my video title after the trade was that they added Bradley Beal, and it makes no sense. But it looks so much worse now. They got Bradley Beal, they got Jordan Goodwin, they got Isaiah Todd, they gave up 5 second-round picks, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and 4 first-round pick swaps. They swapped picks like it was nobody's business, basically getting rid of any other first-round draft capital that they had to deal, because they traded away a lot of it in the Kevin Durant deal. Now they swapped all their other picks. They basically just confined themselves to this big 3 and anything else that can make happen around them. And Bradley Beal himself, in addition to giving up assets to get him that have handicapped you, has single-handedly handicapped them too in any routes of improvement, because the salary that he has in the books is just unmovable. He's one of the worst contracts in the NBA, one of the worst contracts I've seen in so long, because not only is he making way too much money for his production while also being injury prone, it's a contract that nobody wants to take on. Even if you could find a team that was willing to take on Bradley Beal's contract, he's got a no-trade clause, which I can't believe the Wizards gave him that in the first place, and I can't believe the Suns traded for a guy that had a no-trade clause with injury concerns, with concerns about the fit. I understand that Matt Ishbia, wanted to build the Suns into a powerhouse. He said, we're going to spend every expense. We're going to do whatever we can to get Phoenix to compete for championships. They threw caution to the wind, the definition of doing that. I understand that new owner syndrome is a thing where all of a sudden a new owner comes in and boom, a million deals are made. We see it time and time again in the NBA and in sports in general, but this was just another mind-blowing level of what are you doing? Like, they would have loved to trade for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was begging to be a Phoenix Sun, but they couldn't because Beal is a no-trade clause in one of the worst contracts in the NBA and has just been so underwhelming in his whole time as a Phoenix Sun. So I'm seeing some people say, oh, well, it's fine. The Suns can find a way to run it back this offseason. All they have to do is trade Bradley Beal. You would have to attach assets to get any team to go ahead and bite, and they've got no assets whatsoever. They don't control one of their own first-round picks until, I think, 2032 is the next time they're going to control a first-round pick, and that's only because it hasn't been tradable up until this point. They haven't had the opportunity to put that in a deal as a swap. So yeah, that's what they're at right now in terms of assets. They have no second round picks at all, no control of their first round picks. Nothing is tradable. It is a complete and utter disaster. And that came along with the Jusuf Nurkic trade, which there were some defenders of the Bradley Beal deal. Like basically nobody that I can remember liked the Jusuf Nurkic trade. Everybody pretty much hated it. It made no sense when all the rumors started flying that, hey, they really want to get Jusuf Nurkic. They got involved in the Dame deal. They landed him. And they did also get Grayson Allen, who was really good shooting last season, has been a little bit worse this season, but he's been a fine role player for them. But they, in addition, got like Nas Little, Keon Johnson, alongside Nurkic, who was bad in his time as a Phoenix Sun. They had to go ahead and attach a first-round pick to even move off of him at this year's deadline and send him over there to Charlotte. And in the deal, not only did they give up DeAndre Ayton, who has been a better big, he hasn't been phenomenal, but he's been better than Jusuf Nurkic, I would say, since the deal happened. They also gave up Tumuni Kamara. And that's the exact type of player they could use. A young guy that has potential, that is a good defender, that can knock down shots, that can create a little bit for himself. He's just kind of a do-it-all forward. That is the exact type of player that would be perfect in a lineup with Kevin Durant, with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and they don't have him because they trade him away to get Jusuf Nurkic, who coming into that season was one of the worst big men in the league. I don't know what they saw with Jusuf Nurkic. They had Frank Vogel. They went ahead and fired him. They've got Mike Budenholzer now. They're going to fire him as well. They're going to run through like 3 coaches in the span of 3 years. They're just continuously trying new guys. But the problem isn't the coach. It's the roster. It's not good. And they built off of the already poor roster construction last year by making worse moves. They added Tyus Jones, which, yeah, the team needed a little bit more playmaking, but the bigger issue was that they couldn't defend for everything. They had no connecting glue guy type of pieces. So sure, Tyus is going to be able to play make now, but you're taking the ball out of the hands more so of Devin Booker, of Bradley Beal, of Kevin Durant, and you're giving to Tyus, who has been good in more limited roles, but who knew how he was going to be as like the lead facilitator for this supposed to be higher powered offense. And not to mention, he's one of the worst defenders in the league. So a lineup of Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jusuf Nurkic was never going to be able to defend absolutely anybody. I made this predictions video coming into the season, and I said that Bradley Beal was going to be coming off the bench like pretty soon throughout the season, or at least some point during the year, because the team, that starting lineup specifically, was never going to be able to sustain even a somewhat competent defense with those guys out there on the court. And guess what? On the 119 minutes that Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jusuf Nurkic played together, that was their starting lineup, their death lineup coming into the season. Minus 18.6 net rating. Negative 18.6 in the 119 minutes that they played together this season. And they only played 119 partially because of injury, but more so because it was just bad. Like the lineup was just untenable. You couldn't keep those guys out there or you were just getting annihilated. Like the only deal they've made recently that I've liked has been the Nick Richards deal. But even then, like they had to give up 3 second-round picks to make that happen. And now I feel like those second-round picks could be better used. It was just kind of a desperation move. They're like, we got to get a big man of some kind because Nurkic isn't working. It's been a disaster class in management, in asset management, in team building, in, being patient and waiting to see what happens. They just went completely guns blazing into the offseason after trading for Kevin Durant. And still to this day, I don't think trading for KD was a bad decision. It is controversial now. Some people think it was just too much to give up for him. You gave up Mikal Bridges, you gave up Cam Johnson. But I mean, to me, they weren't going to be able to compete with a rapidly improving Western Conference. They were kind of middle of the pack all throughout the season. I think making a KD trade, if you can get a guy of that caliber, you go ahead and make that deal. You 100% do. The problem was everything they did after. It's like they had a vision in mind and they basically didn't ask anybody else, hey, is this a good idea? And it resulted in just a complete failure. They made one of the biggest, most exciting trades the most exciting trade in franchise history, one of the most exciting trades in deadline history, probably was the most exciting one before the Luka one this February, and nothing's going to come of it. They won a playoff series in KD's first year, but in this KD, Booker, Beal era, they're not going to win a single playoff game. That is mind-blowing, the fact that that's not going to happen. Like, they have dealt with injuries. I understand that some people continue to bring that up, but it hasn't mattered. Even when they've had everybody out there, especially as of late, like with Booker and KD, since February 1st, the Suns have a 9-15 record. Booker and Beal together are 4-11. KD and Beal together have a 4-9 record. And the big three, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, the net rating is a negative 3.8. The big three just don't work on the court together. It's just crazy to think about where they were when the KD trade happened. I want to go back and look at my Kevin Durant video and see what I have to say. I'm pretty sure I was like, oh, is this team a contender now? I don't really know. I believe I picked the Phoenix Suns, or at least had them in the Western Conference Finals to come out of the Western Conference. Like, they were in that type of conversation going to the playoffs, and here we are now, and it's like, where's KD gonna go? What could they possibly get back? Can they find a way to deal Bradley Beal? Is Devin Booker gone here soon? And like, they're gonna get assets that are gonna make the future a little bit brighter, but at least at this moment, it is genuinely one of the dimmest futures, dimmest outlooks that I can possibly remember. There aren't many teams, if any, that come anywhere close. If you've got anybody that you think comes even close to this situation, I'd love to hear down below in the comments. But there's really not a lot that come to mind outside of like that Nets team that dealt for Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and basically just set up the Boston Celtics as we currently know them. They owe that championship to the Nets, who just threw everything away for that completely old and washed big three. Yeah, nightmare. Last few years for Phoenix Suns fans, for the Phoenix Suns front office, for this franchise. They're going to try to salvage this. I think they're going to continue to try and pivot, make win now moves, because I mean, there's no like reason to rebuild, I guess. If we know Matt Ishbia, that's not his mindset. He's probably going to be like, oh, we'll trade Kevin Durant, get a few interesting pieces and put them next to Devin Booker. And maybe we trade Bradley Beal and boom, hey, Book, we've got a new team for you. It's not even going to work. And it's even crazier when you think about the fact that like Chris Paul is still a very effective player. Like, the Suns were so desperate to move off of his deal. They're like, we have to get rid of him. And now he's just pretty good still for the San Antonio Spurs. He's about to turn 40 years old. And even if you felt the need to move him, why not trade him for like multiple role players, guys that can contribute alongside Booker and KD? Just the case of an owner trying to make too many splashes, trying to do too much. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not the last time it's going to happen. And it completely plunged the Phoenix Suns into absolute turmoil. The worst situation in the NBA. I don't even think it's close at the moment. I'm very intrigued as to what's going to happen for them in this offseason when they don't make the playoffs. And like, if you told a lot of people coming to the season that they weren't going to make the playoffs and they were going to be like somewhat healthy, they've not been the healthiest team in the world, but they are a lot more injured teams that are performing way better than the Suns have done this season. I think a lot of people would have said you were crazy if you said they weren't even going to be in the play-in tournament, never mind. But that's the reality for the Phoenix Suns, who are a complete failure. One of the biggest failures I've seen in recent NBA history, in my lifetime. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think it went wrong for the Suns? Was it the KD trade? Was it the Bradley Beal one? What other moves would you have made? What would you do this offseason? If you're the Suns, would you just trade KD and try to do something around Booker? I mean, obviously you're probably going to try to trade Beal, but I don't know what takers are out there. Do you try and trade Beal and just run this thing back with KD and Book and cross your fingers and try again? Maybe that's a possibility. I mean, I wouldn't put it past this Phoenix Suns team to just continue to delay the inevitable and run it back. Maybe that's the only choice they have. I don't know. But I kind of just wanted to rant. I guess I don't really have like a full conclusion. I think a lot of you knew the Suns were in a bad spot, but maybe you realize now just exactly how dire the situation is, because I feel like a lot of people don't really recognize or aren't truly understanding just how insane the fall has been, how bad some of these deals were, and how bleak everything looks for Phoenix going ahead into the future. But for the moment, I appreciate you watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Phoenix Suns fans, I am sorry. I hope there is some type of light at the end of this tunnel for y'all within the next decade. We'll see. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you later. Ray one, say it back.